And the
podcast
begins with a song of rebellion.
How can this
podcast
be my life?
CD Burners.
Saying, where do you live now?
New Jersey. So like 20, maybe a half hour out of Philly.
And you're thinking about moving here?
Well, I've been thinking about moving here for like decades. So let's, be real. But, my kids, like my kids are into acting. So I'm like, you know what? It would make sense, even though I hate the songwriting circuit, it is so much more plugged in. It would, it'd be work. But
is it more
Nashville's the spot right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was the spot for a long time.
But I mean, like in general now, since we have like I was just on a songwriting like stream situation.
Yeah.
And their kids in it from literally there's a kid in like Japan.
Yeah.
And they work with everybody. I mean, I guess it is way easier to be in the room with. But
I mean, we get like so much better episodes when we do it in person.
100%.
Like I don't know how you write with people like over Zoom and make
it's tough. For me, it's really tough. It's because I'm like, especially if you're sharing notes and I have to read things and forget it. That's when you lose me, is when I have to start reading things. But like, it's also think about like the networking side of it, all of that. Like, I remember I was doing record here in the one like big LA record I did. And like we went to the studio to mix it, and it's like, dude, all these people are rolling through, like it was Stone Temple Pilots, like things like that, like just like everybody just sort of mixing it up, and like that's kind of where the magic is, I guess.
Yeah, like you can't really like substitute that. Like it's the same thing. Like we go into an office now, but it's like part of like a larger company that we work with, Insomniac, and like we were thinking about getting our own space, but like going in there and just being around the energy of like other people doing stuff, and like you never know what you're gonna talk about like at the water cooler,
Totally.
we've had a bunch of artists on here. I mean, especially like I think that we did something where it was like Avril and Sum 41, and it was like they met when they were both recording their albums. Like,
there you go.
Yeah.
And
that talk about magic
wouldn't have happened, and like all of that shit. So I guess you're right. It's just like, I don't know, that with technology now, I see so much amazing shit, especially because TJ said we work at a Insomniac. So like a lot of electronic artists, that's like how they started. It was like meeting people online.
You're 100% right. And the only thing I'm going to say that will be my last like flag in the ground here for in-person stuff is like, it's that double-edged sword. Be careful what you wish for, because as more technology comes into this, what's supposed to be authentic and pure, what goes out the door is all those things that make it authentic and pure. So if you're bringing in, if we're communicating over, think about it. Like I relate everything back to like 2006 because it was the most impactful time for me. It's like when we decided that we were just going to rip things from the internet, and every artist was like, who was an indie artist, was like, download my stuff. And you saw the immediate reaction was this gratification of people being like, yes, you want us to have it for free. You saw then a lot of these people not be able to get contracts the same way. You're not getting as much money to create. And you're getting that instant gratification, but then you're losing the other thing. So what I'm talking about is the introduction of technology into this. Like, dude, how many writers' rounds or people that are writing now are using ChatGPT to come up with their rhyme schemes, their structures, all that stuff, which you get a lot done, but at the end of the day,
Look, bro, I am right there with you.
Yeah.
There's like something about it that's inherently like, I think two songs can sound legitimately exactly the same. You look at something on like meters and everything looks the same.
Yeah.
And then if one was like written by some body who wasn't a body,
somebody who wasn't a body.
It like there's something about it that like is a thing that like we as people kind of feel.
Yeah.
And the only way I can relate it is because I've been listening to a lot of dubstep, is like there's like a frequency, like a low frequency that people are just like, you cut that out in vocals, like cut that out, everything from this and below. And then sometimes when people first start doing music, they don't know how to do that and they leave it in. And that's kind of like the magic about it.
I love that.
Well, this is a perfect segue to this album.
Yeah, apply that to writing a song. Let's segue away, but I love what you just said. That's it.
I mean, it's just like ChatGPT and like AI like can do everything perfectly, but I feel like every time I know.
Yeah.
It's like I'm listening, and in general, inherently I'm listening to songs because I want to know what somebody is feeling.
Yeah.
And like what they're thinking. And AI doesn't think. It doesn't have the capability to, dude, until until they start dating and like breaking up with each other.
Dude, I think they are already.
Like just AI like chat bots are like on their own like server
they
dating.
had like conversations. I mean, I don't know. Look, I try and stay far away from it. So I'm gonna start just talking, like start making stuff up soon. So
that's welcome to the podcast of misinformation, dude. You're in the right place to do it.
Sick.
Just make shit up.
By the way, I used AI for like a lot of the research on this, so
I hope so.
If it's wrong, like it's not my fault.
Yeah, it knows me pretty well.
Okay. But yeah, speaking of an album that I think there was a lot of maybe intentional, like leave the imperfections in there, and it brings so much to the table. We're talking about the early November, The Room's Too Cold.
Yeah.
Came out in 2003. No such thing as ChatGPT back then.
Oh, no.
Just you and your homies in New Jersey.
Yeah.
How old were you when this came out?
When it came out, I was 20. I guess 20, something like that, right around there. It's crazy.
What the fuck is going on in New Jersey, bro? Like everything, like what is it about that place that made all of this shit?
I don't know. I think it's crazy too, because where we're from in New Jersey is a little bit removed from the North Jersey crowd, but we all shared, I guess, the same water. I don't know, like the soil. It's pretty amazing. It really is amazing. It's awesome.
Like, I mean, have you thought, like, have you sat down and been like, ever considered? Because you grew up with like a lot of the artists, like a lot of those guys, a lot of drive-through guys, all those people, and that like were so influential. And every time we do one of these things, that for the most part always is back to New Jersey, always right back to New Jersey. It's just like, the fuck was going on?
Yeah.
Like why? Like I'm so
VFWs. Like diners, like that's where we all got our start, was VFWs. Well, at least from my scene where we came up. So it was like you're playing lodges, you're playing like all different types of these halls that, I mean, we played with Census Fail, Starting Line, all those guys like back then in firehouses. And it's like, that's kind of like, that was the scene then. It was such a tight knit thing as well. It was really cool to be a part of that for sure. But it's kind of sad that it's not like that anymore, but it was a great time.
So why
Perfect time and place.
But it's just like, why was it so condensed to this like one specific demographic? I always just am like,
I think because you got major cities surrounding New Jersey. You got Philadelphia, you've got New York City, and then like the perfect like storm in between those two things is New Jersey. And it's just so dense. The population is quite dense. So you're getting like just a mixture of all these things in a circuit that you could play, Philly area, New York area, like back and forth, and they're not really touching the same market. It was a great like brewing ground for that.
Yeah, I remember like playing when I was living on the East Coast. Like you could, do like weekend tours and do like three cities, and gain like a little bit of a fan base and like build that community and come back next month. You did this album with Chris Badami. You guys co-produced it, and he also did like the original Starting Line album. And there is a Kenny Vasoli like cameo or guest vocal on this album. But I believe it was your first foray into production, right? Like you co-produced this with him.
Yeah.
And what was that? What was that like? And like, how did you get connected with Chris in the first place? What was that like stepping into the role of like co-producer of your band? And like, how has that experience shaped who you are now as a producer?
Yeah, I think I had always been like, when I got out of high school, like I was not your average human in the sense of like, I couldn't read or anything. Like I had terrible learning disabilities. I could barely communicate. I was like the very awkward kid. And then when I graduated, I was like, well, what am I going to do? Like, I wanted to be in music, but there's really no lane. You know, you couldn't see a lane in front of you. Anyway, I had somehow ended up like getting credit cards because back then they're giving them to everybody.
Let's go.
Yeah. So I got a bunch of credit cards and bought all this recording gear, not thinking like, oh, I got to pay this. To me, it was like just magic.
Free money.
It was
Did you know
magic
how?
money.
Did you know anything about that shit?
Zero.
You just like went to Guitar Center and were like, "I'll take that."
Yeah, I think this was before the days of Guitar Center. It was Mars Music back then. Yeah, it was the Guitar Center-esque. But yeah, like I got the credit card and I was like, all right, let's do it. So I got a bunch of gear and I just started making music out of my parents' basement. And you know, I made a little studio down there. I recorded a bunch of bands. I did production for like a year, maybe 2 years before we had any interest, from Drive Through. So by the time we got to work with Chris, we loved that Starting Line EP, and Drive Through wouldn't let me do it at like a studio in South Jersey. So they were like, how about you do it with Chris? Meet us in the middle here. Go do it with Chris. And then we started a beautiful relationship with him and he absolutely crushed it, you know? But it was great being able to do that. And I remember we had some funny moments where I was like, I want to do this record, make it so authentic and be the opposite of what everybody's being right now with like samples and, you know, bringing all this into it. I'm like I was saying earlier, like it's that double-edged sword of like, how far do you go with punk rock before it becomes a watered down version of, you know, the big, too many pop elements in it. So I was like, no tuners. If we can't tune it by ear, then we shouldn't make a record at all.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that.
And he was like, no. So we had tuners.
Did you? Okay. All right. You go. Sorry.
No, I was saying like that was our relationship during the process. It was like, how far can I push not editing this and not making it something manufactured while, you know, being on Drive Through Records.
Like satisfying the record label.
Exactly.
So was he the first person that you ever like stepped into a studio with to do something creatively with outside of you?
Yeah, in that level for sure.
I mean, how was that? Because, you know, I think doing especially like an album that is like your music is like, what was like taking him and being like, hey, you got to use a tuner on this motherfucker. And you're like, I don't want to use a tuner on this thing.
Like what was that dynamic like? You know, how much older was he than you? And like, what were those days like?
Chris is probably, I mean, he's a little bit older than me. He's probably like 6 to 8 years older than me. So he was like seasoned, you know, he'd been making records for a while. And the dynamic, it was easy for him because the rest of the band was like, he's crazy. We're with you here. So it was like, I was just seeing how far I could go with, I really wanted to earn it. You know, I wanted to be there because I was good enough to be there. And that's like, I think always been kind of, you know, but in the back of my mind with these things. But when it came to that was like our really funny one because they all thought I was nuts when I was like, look, if you can't sit there and hear an E and make it match on yours, then why are you sitting here? You know? And then they were like, that's not how you run it. I'm like, I guess you're right. I guess you're right. But
I mean, was it like a challenge to go in when you've been doing stuff yourself and then sit with somebody who's like been doing shit, especially I could see where it would be sick to do it on something that is not your own thing.
Yeah.
But on your own thing, like what were do you remember that being a challenge?
There really wasn't too many challenges in that because Chris has a really loving touch. He's really, the way he does it is very unique in the sense of like, he roots for you, you know, and he's gonna work for you and get what he can, you know, get for you what you're looking for as long as it's not going to hurt the project in the long run. So most things like I said, he had a really soft, loving touch to it. We didn't really have many of those instances where it was like we were butting heads ever because there was no need to. You know, he was backing almost everything. You know, he's like, all right, but if I got too crazy, he would, reel me in a little bit. And then when we came in for the next record, obviously, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it was a triple disc album with
Yeah. That's a lot of songs.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. So I kept that guy, on his toes a little bit.
I can imagine. Looking back on it now, as a producer, as somebody who's gone on to do, probably thousands of other projects and songs and other things, like, do you ever wish that you tuned things, or
nah,
you like it how it is?
I'm not going to sit there and listen to it, but I think you got to think about where I am, why I am, at least, is like, what am I doing this for? Am I doing this for a splash? Am I doing this to say like, oh, I gave it my best shot. I put my best foot forward in making it sound like the equivalent of everything else? Or do I get to sit back now as a person, a mature age, and say, look, I did it in a way that was maybe not conventional at the time, but it was built out of a place of integrity. And I'm not going to do what that other person is doing to sell records, because that's not the goal here. Yeah, ultimately, as a business, it's to sell records. But think about the things that you love most are out of pain or authenticity in some way. And that's what this record was. That's why we made it like that, is because we wanted it to be extremely authentic and against the grain of what the rest of the industry was doing. Now, I don't like, looking back and judging, but you could trace a line. Pretty much, you could trace a line from the standard decisions that were happening back then that lead you to an industry that's kind of a mess right now. Because in all regards, it's a little bit sloppy at this very moment. You're like, well, things used to be so much better. Why did they used to be so much better? Because we cared in a different way. We had patience. Now everything is immediate, instant, viral. If it's not, it's nothing. And I did not want to contribute to that. So I look back and say, yeah, I would like to have a bigger bank account, but it's more important to, I think, the sustainability of the genre as a whole, to have the people that are going to be like, no, I'm doing this for a different reason.
Yeah, I mean, that's like exactly how I feel.
Beautiful.
I'm very much in line with that. I remember the first time I heard a fucking Piebald album, and I was like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" I was like, I don't think it was like so far out of tune, like singing wise. I was like, I don't know if he sang to a track, and which I loved. I loved it, but it was like so, it was almost like on the verge of like too unmanageable for me but I grew to end up like legitimately love. I love Piebald.
Yeah,
I love Piebald.
Piebald's phenomenal. And I'm so glad you brought Piebald up here, because that's one of the things that gave me confidence. Like when I started, I guess my first band, it was another month. It was called the June Spirit. And I got brutally kicked out of that band.
You're
just
a
months.
big fan of that.
Well, I like that was
so funny.
Look, I was a teenager, man. The emo scene was different. We were about months and stars back then. But like we went up to record, and my voice hurt. They were like, go home. The producer was like, go home for a few days, rest up and come back. And by the time I came back, they were like, well, we got somebody else to sing your songs. And that like ruined me. But the reason I'm like, I relate that to Piebald is because our producer previously, right before that, right around that same time, heard my voice and was like, I knew that I wasn't a great singer. I knew that I could barely stay in key. Like now, thankfully, I'm way better. But then I couldn't. He was like, this guy, Steve Paponi, he's a legendary guy from our area. And he was like, your voice is awesome. You sound like the singer of Piebald. Like and I love that. And that to me, like that, hearing that, like, oh, this guy who's like me, who doesn't stay perfectly in tune for every note, there's a market for that. Awesome. I have hope now that I can actually do this thing. And it's like, that's why I've always admired and loved that band in that respect. And I love that you brought that up. It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Sorry for the long-winded story.
No,
there.
it's okay. I like that. That's the shit that I like. And it kind of relates back to like a little bit what you're talking about. Like these imperfections, like you can go in and make a track right now that is perfect one kind of take.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's perfect,
Yes,
right?
yes.
In one take, and it's like how many people are doing that right at this moment? How many songs are uploaded every day?
I don't know.
It's an
some crazy
unreal
amount.
number.
It's like
yeah.
30,000 songs are
It's an
uploaded
unreal
like
number.
every day, and like that's an overwhelming thing because I was here we go, ready for the most butchered bullshit ever. Somebody, and I think it was like a Picasso thing. I don't know, whatever. Or I might have made it up. Doesn't matter. But it was like we're all given kind of the same things. Like we can, like if you're a painting, you can go buy the same paint as somebody else. We can have the same things.
Yeah.
Just like how you do them is like the outcome of like what that thing is. We can all start with we all have guitar. We can go buy a guitar. You can buy the same production tool, everything. It's how you do it. And I
Yeah.
think that it has been pretty homogenized to the fact that like this is the way to do it. This is the way to get it the best from the first
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And you know, like we were saying, you lose a little bit of that thing when all of it is so accessible.
Totally. Like are you Picasso first off? Secondly, like what's the end goal? Like that's always been my thing is like, what's the end goal? I'm okay with not being the biggest artist in the world. I don't need to be. So what's my goal? Is to affect people, impact people. Like it's far more gratifying to be walking down the street and someone come up to you and say, hey, you know, you walked me off a ledge one time without knowing it. Like you impacted me somehow, hearing you on a podcast or a song impacted me in a way that, you know, helped me turn a corner in a positive way. And that's so gratifying. It's unquantifiable, right? And that's the type of stuff that really like is if we can continue to connect with humans in that way, like and realize that, you know, that's the goal. Is art is to bring people together, not create division and not push people away, not create a hierarchy, not like be some like these are the big people, this is the top tier, this is the middle, these are the low one. Like, nah, it's about bringing that together, you know, making everybody the same. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get too far off here, but you know what I'm saying. And I'm glad that, you know, figured out that you're Picasso.
Well, I mean, dude, it's like, what is the goal? Like, it's things that I think we talk about in life in general all the time since we were little kids is like, what is success? And like, you just kind of like, you know, for you, it's when people come up to you and say that stuff. It's like, so that is successful. That's success. Like that is the thing. It's not like what, you know, how much money you have. It's not important to you. So
I mean,
like,
I would love
I
that.
mean, look,
yeah, I'll take it.
Look,
But-
nobody's saying that doesn't rule, but it's like, you know, if the goal is to do those things and impact people, then like you are by every sense of the word successful.
Yes, 100%. And that's kind of like where you gotta know that going into it. You can't go into it one way and be like, you know, well, I really wanted this, and then you're going to be unhappy at the end of the day. Like that I think that happens with artists. You go into it with these pure intentions, and then you fall in love with the other things, and you wake up a couple years later, and you're like, who am I? What roads did I take that I didn't even realize I was taking? You know, we all have. I'm sure you've talked to hundreds of people who have said similar stories with people losing their path along the way, losing their footing because they fell in love with something they didn't understand what it was and chased it down this, you know, dark rabbit hole. Yeah. You get lost. It's easy.
Did you have to like ground yourself ever when you were doing all this shit? Because you know, like this was like prime time for this style of music and in general. And you were young too.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, you know, somebody's like, here's a record deal, 20, you get to work with all these artists, you get to tour with all these artists. You know, don't think that you're probably as level-headed as you are right now.
I was always pretty like I'm grateful for my very humble beginnings. Like I said, an awkward kid, like this saved my life. This taught me how to communicate. It taught me how to be a functioning adult. I grew up in this world. So I'm grateful for that. And I think along the way, I never got lost in like, oh, I need to like, it's not about having fun for me. It's not about like finding a finding my path on it. It's like, this is who I am. I don't want to hurt that. You know, I never want that to go away, but I want that to stay.
Yeah.
when you have songs like, I don't know, when you have somebody come up to you on the street and they say like, here's my ever so sweet tattoo.
Yeah.
Or like, you talked me off a ledge at some point in my life. Do you ever like now feel yourself getting caught in the hamster wheel, or at any point in your musical journey since this album, of being like, okay, like how do I get that like secret sauce again? Like, have you ever found yourself chasing down the wrong path?
Yes, I have definitely. The wrong paths that I found myself chasing are like how to get that hit, how to get that song, how to get that one. That's not necessarily going to be the song that, you know, you're referring to now, that like when someone says, oh, you walk, like my pathways that have gone awry have been like chasing mainstream success. Like that's when I feel like I get watered down. That's when I get, I lose my ability, my magic sauce, whatever you might want to call it. And yeah, I've made that mistake many times. I made a mistake on a lot of albums.
So do you know when you're doing it now? Like, do you kind of like catch yourself and you're like, I gotta reel this shit back a little bit?
Yeah, I gotta stop. I think we all get lost a little bit in the sauce sometimes of why not me? You know, like when you're friends with Fall Out Boy and then you're touring VFWs and skating rinks, and then the next year they're like the biggest band in the world, or any one of these bands. Like, you know, like when you come up in that way, I've never chased, like went into it being like, oh, I'm going to fully commit and make hits. But it's like, I've always been told I don't have that voice. I don't have that, you know, and when I try and chase that is when it really just doesn't work out. And when you lose the core people that, you know, really see you for authentically who you are. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it's definitely, I've gone down that road too many times. But I have written songs with a lot of artists and it's gone well and worked out great for them. You know,
dude, who from back then, who do you still talk to, like on a pretty regular basis?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's mostly like we will, if you see people at a festival, wherever, and everybody hugs and high fives, talks about the good old days. And it's like, you know, it's not like, I don't really keep up with people on a very regular basis, but there's a lot of love when it's, you know, when you meet up with everybody. I think we all have that like similar way. Yeah. Interesting.
Because I was wondering, I was like, dude, you came up with like a lot of bands. I'm like, I wonder who the fuck these, you know, like, what group chats?
Like, dude, I wish group chats were a thing back then. Yeah. Like that would have been sick. Would have been sick.
I mean, it would have, it was, I don't know if you remember, but like when everybody would like stand in a circle with like the sidekicks, like that was like what, you know, like that version of a group chat was back then.
Uh-huh. That's crazy. The sidekicks. I never had one, but you know,
I never had one either.
Yeah. A few guys in the band had them. No, they were around. I remember them.
Okay. So going back to this album, one thing that I really love about this album, I fucking love this album. I'm just going to put that out there. It was like one of the first CDs that I bought when I was getting into the genre. I remember going into like Virgin Records and buying like Taking Back Sunday, Early November, like Fall Out Boy or something like that. Like it was one of the first three that I had.
That's sick.
But I fucking love the sequencing on this record. I like it flows so perfect. And also it starts with just your voice and an acoustic guitar, which is kind of unheard of for any album to start like that. Was there debate with the label or with the producer about the sequencing of this record?
Yeah, there was we really tried to get it right, if you will, with this. When we were like, let's put Ever So Sweet first, that was like, but nobody does that. What do you mean an acoustic song first? But we're a rock emo punk band. Like we can't, it was it felt at the time controversial. It felt like something like, yo, we're doing something weird here. And then it makes this swooping sound that like goes into kind of chaos into like a really odd song, you know, that's big. It was like, it felt really like we were doing something different. And I'm glad that it worked out the way it did.
Yeah,
but
do you think it would have been as big as it was if it was like track 7? Like,
I don't know. It's
because I feel like everybody would just put on the headphones at the record store and like listen to the first 3. And if you didn't like it, you were done.
That's true. Yeah, you get that. Man, I remember the headphones at the record store. That was great.
I think it's the weirdest sequenced album in the fucking world. Like, I think it's so weird that which is why I think it works. Because I was like, I don't remember this being like, you know, we go back and like really listen.
Yeah.
I was like, that. I don't think there's been an album that has been so strangely sequenced to me, which is like an impressive. It's like it's an impressive task because I can see a label being like, absolutely don't do that. Like, just don't do that. You're not doing that. And like, if it's stuck out to me out of all of the albums that we have talked about. I was like, that's fucked up. I was like, that's like a fucked up, like it kind of leads you in a very, very strange place, and like sets the tone for the entire album almost inappropriately.
Yeah. I feel that it's weird. It's cool. And to even like take it one step further, when we did all the 20-year anniversary shows for it, we played it backwards. So we did it all in reverse because I've had to end every show ever with Ever So Sweet. So it made sense to do it that way, but it was funny.
Look, I like things that aren't, supposed to, and this one, like, really, I was like, okay. Like, if something annoys me a little bit, I learn to really love it. And I was like, this is annoying. Like the fact that like, it's not sequenced the way that like, I feel like it. And then it is, because that's what makes the thing a thing. Yeah, After all this time, you're just like, that's supposed to be there.
Right.
Like if it was in any other order, it would not have done the thing where I'm actually sitting and talking about the sequencing of an album. It would have just been nothing.
That's funny.
It's a pretty amazing thing. I also I remember when I listened to it this was the first time I ever heard anybody take another lyric from another artist. And
the Get Up Kids shout out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the first, which, to be fair, like one of the first and most nervous I've ever been to interview anybody.
Yeah.
Was Matt Pryor.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like
he's kind of scary.
He's not though, is the thing. He's just like,
it was so funny when Morgan interviewed Matt Pryor. Morgan was doing this like self-deprecating thing or whatever. And Matt's like, oh yeah, it's a January 6th guy and a homeless guy on a podcast.
It was like literally like, because everybody's like so scared he's scared of him. He gives off that thing, but he's not. Funny. But it was the first time I ever heard in this whole fucking thing. And anybody being like, I'm just going to take that. I like that. It's perfect in the way that he says it, in the melody and in the tone. And then just like, I hadn't heard it before.
Yeah.
It's kind of a hip hop thing almost.
Yeah.
What do they call that?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the actual name for it, but I like it. I mean, for us, it was like a nod. It was like, I wouldn't be on this creative path without that band. And that's what the purpose of it was. We had something originally there and then decided to change it to that because it was like, yeah, we want to throw respect in
Have you ever talked to them about it?
Yeah, we had,
was he mad at you?
Well,
did he seem like he was mad at you?
Look, we've been able to patch things up. So
okay.
Dude, was he not stoked on it?
Well, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it. We had a gag order for some time. But yeah, I think.
Fair.
Yeah.
Look, I told him this when I interviewed him. I went to go see him.
No, we had it. We talked it out. We talked it out a few years ago. We did a tour together. And since that record came out up until maybe 2017, whenever that tour was that we did together, we hadn't spoken. So it was nice to talk and air it out and everything. We had a little, I guess the record industry teaches you lessons, you know, in many different ways. And this one for us was, we got essentially approvals to do it through the label. And then right before the album came out, like this is after it was mixed and went to press, right before it came out, we got a lawsuit, and you know, we had to give X amount of, I believe it was like, I forget now, it's been too long, but we had to give percentages and cash and the gag order. So we didn't talk about it for years. We didn't talk about it for decades.
Dude, that's fucking crazy. So like basically Drive Thru was like, you're chill to do this, and then Vagrant was like, you're not chill to do this after it was already done. After it was
already done. And you know, like, I understand business is business. Things happen. I wouldn't say anything bad about them. We were able to air it out, and you know, years and years later, we had a super funny like interaction our first time, and it was, you know, it was interesting, but then it's cool, and we're definitely, you know, I loved the Get Up Kids so much as a teenager. So it was like, that's all it was. It was about being like,
well, it comes through in the song. Like that's the thing. Like,
that's what it was supposed to be.
That's what it is. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Is the thing. Like I think if you are a fan of them, it reads like that.
Yeah. And that's what it was. That was the intention. And like, I'm not, you know, I don't want to, you know, drudge up things, because obviously I have nothing but respect for that band and everybody in it. But
bro, I think it's just like interesting. It's like a fun thing. I think that this is the cool thing about this podcast is we're like, I didn't know that. I don't know if there's any like information on it. It didn't come up for me. Yeah. So I was like, that is sick. I had no idea. I thought they were boys.
Yeah.
You know, like I thought this was like a chill thing where they were like, yeah, do this. Hell yeah. Like go nuts.
Yeah.
You know, no idea.
Bro,
Really?
I don't think that the Get Up Kids were like at all chill with the word emo until maybe like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Like,
you're probably right. Yeah.
That's why I was like so scared. I was like so scared. This fucking guy. I was like terrified of doing this. I was like,
he's a nice guy though.
I really enjoyed
Yeah.
talking to him. I was still scared after I left. But
Yeah.
I remember, like I was saying, like one time I went and saw them in Orange County, and I feel like he was looking directly at me if I like didn't sing like every word, and I was like, I had to like pretend to like.
Did he remember you?
No.
Okay.
Dude, it's like, no, of course. And that's the thing. He like, I don't think that's obviously not the case.
Yeah.
That is
it's just intimidating.
That is a fake scenario that I made in my head.
Yeah.
Because like of the way that I perceive it. So I went into this interview with that,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So the whole time I was like, I'm so sorry for being me,
Yeah.
you know, but it wasn't like that at all. Like he's just a guy that wears sandals, you know?
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry for not singing every word.
Yeah, no, that's like exactly how I felt.
How long did this record take you guys to make?
It was about 1 month we were in the studio, like roughly a month, like 3.5 weeks, something like that. And we spent maybe pre-production on it, like a few weeks, because I had been writing songs on the road. So by the time we got done, I remember we got done, I think, a tour with Less Than Jake, Fall Out Boy, and I want to remember the other band that was on the tour. It was a really like, it was like all over the spectrum, this tour. And then we went in to record the album. And actually, you know what? I think we were out with either way. I had been writing songs that whole time. And then we got off the tour, we got off the road and just pretty much put it all together because I'd already had almost everything how I, you know, saw it going. So we did a few weeks of pre-production, then a month to make it in the studio, if that, and we were off to England.
And how did that compare to the triple album?
The triple album was insane. That was like, that took a long time. Obviously, I had like I was trying to connect everything. I wanted it all to go hand in hand with each other. I wanted you to be able to listen to something on the rock album and be able to pick out its counterpart on the softer one and be able to then tie it all together on the third album, the dialogue album. So
did you like Charlie Day,
yes,
like map it out?
Yes. Yeah. I was straight up insane. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's this has been coming up a lot. It came up on the Alkaline Trio podcast, which was not true, but Reddit loves to do this thing where they like to do that, the Charlie Day thing, and connect the dots. And they were talking about the album that we are talking about now, not the triple album. They were like, it's a concept album. It's a concept album. Like, here are the things that, like, why we think so. And they love to spaz out about this shit. And I don't know, for the record, I like to look, nothing I love more than just proving Reddit wrong. Or, you know, so, but is it or no? Not at all.
The triple disc is definitely
No,
a
not
concept
triple
album.
disc. Not
I know,
triple
I know.
disc.
This one, no. This one was an album of collection of songs.
Let's go. You hear that?
Yeah.
You fucks. Dude, they're so annoying. It's like, do something else.
Ace, what do you think is like? But this album, it's not necessarily a concept album. So I did see some things that were like it was about like your relationship at 19, like you were going through a breakup and stuff. How do you view these songs now versus at 19 when you were writing them? Like, have they taken on different meanings?
I think, of course, as you grow in life, everything is going to take on, you know, whatever it needs to be at that moment. Because if you call it art, that's you know, and you go by the cheesy like vessel, like it's whatever, like, you know, you allow yourself to, you know, change with those times. I think these songs now mean something to me that is like, you know, associated with pride and being able to like, and strength. Whereas back then they were associated to me with like not like weakness, but those like really heavy moments that like that weigh on you. And I think, you know, people can interpret or hear whatever they hear from them. There's a lot of bittersweet in that album. There's a lot of yes, but no. And, you know, this, but that there's a lot of back and forth, even in the song with the, you know, the Get Up Kids lyric in it. It's like, it's the real, if you listen, like the real theme is like, this is going to be hard is really the theme of it. You know, it's like, I feel like the writing throughout the whole album is that. And there are some songs that are completely removed from romantic situations altogether and are about the frustrations of the industry already and seeing people reap the benefits of, you know, not having integrity and doing something in a, you know, and just being at odds with that. So there's a lot of this uncomfortable growth or growing pains really is what I would associate it with the creation of this album. So I think it's, I've always been the type of person that whatever it means to you, it means to you. However you want to interpret it to use it as a healing thing, like that's what matters.
On the same sort of tip, like you've had a few different projects. I Can Make a Mess, Ace Enders, and a million different people. And you're one of the rare artists in the entire world, I think, that's opened for yourself.
Good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very
thing
cool.
to do. I like that.
How do you kind of like compartmentalize like what those projects mean to you at your different points of your life? And like when you do a show where you're opening for yourself, like what is that experience like?
Oh, that's a good question.
This is a question also from our friend Dan at Ghost.
Oh, nice.
He's the founder of the energy drink company, and he's a huge fan.
Shut up! I love Ghost.
He's coming tonight.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the grape juice flavor is my favorite,
Bro.
Dude, shout out Ghost.
I buy way too many of them.
Well, Dan is like literally coming because we booked you. Like he like learned to play he learned to play guitar from Ever So Sweet.
Well, that makes me, I'm excited. I'm very excited then. Dan, I can't wait.
Hell yeah.
He's also just like the best guy.
That's sick.
Yeah, he like gives a fuck about this stuff. It's really interesting because, you know, I feel like TJ and I meet so many people and like so many companies that are like, oh, we see what you guys are doing. That's a cool thing to do. Like, sure, we want that. But like Dan is, which is a testament to the genre itself, is like this latches on to people in a way where this is who they are for kind of forever.
Yeah.
And I think that Dan is like a very good example of that thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Dan's question though.
Oh, shit,
about
sorry.
opening for yourself.
I think it's like I Can Make a Mess has always had a little bit of a lo-fi, rough around the edges feel to it. Sort of where where The Room's Too Cold left off in that same type of, because I made the first I Can Make a Mess album right after The Room's Too Cold. Like they were back to back pretty much. And I took all of that like looseness and pretty much applied it to that project. And that's where I allowed myself to exercise this, like, there's no rules. Like, it's going to sound sloppy. You're going to hear me pressing stop. You're going to like stuff like that. Like you're going to hear background noises and people talking and air conditioners and all that. And to this day, like I'm about to release another album that's filled with that stuff. It's like that human element. So for me, I Can Make a Mess has always been that attachment to exactly what the name is. Like the looser side, the one that is embracing that element of life that we sometimes try and like cover up. And that's how I've exercised that side of my creative, abilities. Whereas 10 has become much cleaner and, tighter. It's that. So those are the differences that's how I look at those two projects and how I, make my way, I guess, around that. And it's interesting. And when it comes to opening for yourself, it's like the difference is a different flannel. One.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
dude. Like there's got to be like a lot of freedom in being able to just be like, nobody can tell me what to do. I'm doing this thing. Like
it's scary too. It's weird. Yes, it's great.
Like that is I think that it's cool. You have both things to balance back and forth.
Yeah. And even the thing that I like that does have rules to it, like I would say like 10 is the closest to that. There's still a lot of freedom there, but I can't allow myself to have too much freedom. I have to play by some set of rules, for that, and in a good way. Because if not, it's then I have projects that are just sloppy all over the place.
Well, then you have like you have to like you have other people to work with.
Exactly.
A million different people, actually.
Oh, yes. And that, a million different people, that's where I started writing with like writers.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me was like, that was I guess the only project I ever did outside songwriting on. And it was, it was like, it was the attempt at that side of things, which, I love that record, and I've done, I've thought about, going back into it, but it's a different feeling for sure.
What's your favorite song you ever wrote? Yeah, I'm gonna ask some real basic bitch shit because it's fun. Like this, stuff is really fun.
No, it is, and it's a lot of times I think it's always fun too when you hear somebody talk about that, and it's like a surprising song. Like I wouldn't have anticipated that. For me, I'd have to say there's a song, "Old Man" from I Can Make a Mess. It was off of a self-release that was came out, I would say 2011, 10, 8, something around that ballpark. It's slow, it's sad, but that's probably one of my favorite. Yeah. I mean, I could say Ever So Sweet because it's the one, but yeah.
But it's not like that's, yeah. Like I know, I think that's the answer. Like I was, and if it was Ever So Sweet, that's great. I mean, Ever So Sweet holds like a very special place in my heart because it was like, when we started, we were working with a videographer and he cut up something like one of like a recap video to Ever So Sweet. And it, out of the thousands of recap videos that we have done, that one sticks out to me in like a very, very particular way where I was like, oh, this is what emo night is. Like, this is what this is. I could pinpoint why it was a special thing and like why it mattered to people. And that was the soundtrack to it.
That's awesome.
You know that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember where I was watching it, which is crazy. Weird.
Man, that feels special to me. I like it.
Are there so you mentioned a little bit about some of the in studio vibes, and you were kind of like, don't fucking tune anything.
Yeah.
Can you just give us like a day in the life of like what was going on every day in the studio? What was it like? What were you guys eating? Was everybody in there at all times? Like what was the whole behind the curtain process like?
Yeah, I think we stayed at the Hampton Inn in which was like one of my favorite hotels ever. It was the Hampton Inn and Suites in Lincoln Park, New Jersey, maybe.
Dude, I love
like
a Hampton Inn.
Dude, and back then the breakfast was fire.
Yeah.
That's why we were so pumped about it. Like you could, every morning we would get up before the studio, we'd get in the session, probably like 9:30 a.m. or 9, we would go in. So we would get up a little bit earlier and go down to breakfast, have a wonderful continental breakfast. It was awesome. That's when continental breakfast was like, I think that was the top. It's gone down since. But we would do that every single day. And then it was kind of like, that was, I guess, the last time we were all crammed into one room too. It was like our last time being like that, really. So it was like we get up, go to breakfast, get in the van, go to the studio. For the most part, people, the whole band would come. And it was, we'd work for like an hour or two and then order lunch, eat chicken cheesesteaks. That was a very big part of the creation of the Room's Too Cold. Chicken cheesesteaks were massive part of it. Bagels and chicken cheesesteaks got us through that. And, lots of ice cream at night. It was like every day it would be like load up on breakfast, get to the studio, then eat second breakfast, then eat lunch, and then ice cream for dinner every single day. Dude, it's crazy.
To be 20 again and just like rip chicken cheesesteaks.
Don't even. I would love that. A month straight of that. That was beautiful. But I mean, it was Jeff and Serge, after Jeff like got his stuff knocked out, because Jeff's the drummer, and the way we worked together, especially on that record, we didn't play anything to a click track. So that was another one of my weird rules. No click track. Like, we're gonna go in, I'm gonna stand in the room with you, and it's going to be me and you in here, and we're just going to run through the songs. The scratch guitar is going to be the click track. Everything else we're just going for it. So basically, we did that for every song. I think in maybe a day and a half, we were done. I just played through all the songs, me and him. And then I think I probably put my parts in it after that. And then we followed with bass and lead guitar. And it was like, that was one of those funny things too. It was like, no click track. We got to do our best to just stay on. I'm like taking out the potential to copy and paste anything here.
Yeah, no, it's super fucking annoying. It's really annoying. I talk about this. I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast, but like, the dude that like does like the Olivia Rodrigo stuff, and he does this thing in the chapel stuff. He does this thing where he turns the BPM down in the chorus, one BPM. And I'm like, that's a fucking DJ's nightmare. Like, that's just like a nightmare, like, to do that. But he's like, I swear to God, fucking, you can't really hear it, but you can really hear it.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, your entire album is that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's cool.
It is cool.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome. I think that shit, I mean, that's the stuff that like, I always go back to with being like, why do I like this so much?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do I relate to this so much? And it's usually something like that. It's usually like
did bands like the
type of
fucking Eagles play to a click? Like, I don't know.
I think the way that the Eagles play to a click is different than how like modern bands play to a click.
They're probably just like putting on a metronome.
Yeah, you just have a metronome on. Like when you're in the studio. Like back then, like we recorded that record to tape as well. And prior to that, like what was it, like 5 years, 10 years before that, there was no Pro Tools. There was no digital recording. There was like different types of digital recordings, like, but it wasn't, you're not going in and manipulating audio in the same way. So like I think of it like back then, like with the Eagles, like, yeah, they probably play to a click maybe, but it's just to keep time. It's not to like, we're flying everything from C1 to C2, then put this part from there. That's going to go to the bridge.
Copy paste it, and we're done.
Yeah, we're not flying any nothing.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is interesting.
I mean, they make shit now that's like, how do you emulate doing that? And it's almost just like, just do that thing. It's like you do it perfect and then you go back to be like, how do we give it the artifacts of reality? Yeah.
I'm going to create that plugin, Artifacts of Reality.
It's a good name.
It is good. Yeah, you just like put it on the master and then just kind of fuck shit up a tiny
just
bit.
Just a little bit here and there. Yeah.
How like actually this is a cool thing. like over when you first started producing, like what's been what are some of the things that you've kept exactly the same, and like what are some things you're like, oh, with technology and how this shit is going, like what are some shit that you do now that you're just like, god damn, dude, I don't know how the fuck I did that back then.
Um, well, let's see. This is probably a 2-part question, but I think like the thing that I do the same is probably always my starting point is always going to be 0. It's always going to be like with a fresh head. If I'm working with an artist and we're starting a song from scratch, like I don't want to know a chord structure. I want it to take me somewhere. I want there to be some element of a journey, because then I'll be able to write about it. If there's not a journey, then I can't, like it's not something that's moving forward. It's just A needs to go here, B needs to go here. Like I can't look at it like that. So for me, that's what, if that makes sense, like I need there to be some type of element of, we are creating something that it does not exist yet. Like, and we're creating it with no rules, and we're creating it in a way that's like we're learning about it together. You know, we're not saying, oh, this is the structure we're using. This is like what I can't, to me that like, that sort of minimalizes and puts you in a little bit of a glass cage. And then if I was going to look back and say like, oh, how did I write like whatever? I used to let music lead. And I'd be like, oh, I have a structure right here, and I'm going to, I'm going to follow that. Now I sort of the opposite. Melody is always first for me. So it's like, that's kind of like my melody is the leader. So that's the difference.
I think that's a good answer, and I follow that for sure.
Yeah.
It's like, has there been some shit where you're just like, what do you use?
Pro Tools. Yeah. Pro Tools, always. I try to use other things, but I'm like, I know Pro Tools so well at this point. It's been like 20 years of locked into it. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you just open Logic and you try to do a hotkey and you're like, it doesn't do. I have to relearn my hotkeys.
Dude, I can't get my head wrapped around crossfades in Logic, and that for me is enough to be like, I can't do it.
It's super frustrating. I remember like I was editing videos a couple of years ago, and I switched from like Premiere to Final Cut, and I was like, I could do what I'm trying to do in like half a second. Now I have to sit and like watch a YouTube tutorial and like learn how to do this.
I'm too old for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm locked in Ableton, but I'm shout out Ableton.
Yeah, well, that's one that I do want to actually learn Ableton for the live capabilities.
It's the coolest thing it's legitimately the coolest program I've ever opened in my life.
That's awesome. It's good to hear.
All right. Well, I think we're just at about an hour, and
I think Timmy's legitimately calling 911 right now.
Don't do that.
But in German, German. I think he's calling the German police.
Is there anything that you maybe haven't said about this record before, or anything that we didn't touch on this interview that you'd want out there in the world?
Yeah, I think I was kind of thinking about this as we were talking. One thing that we never really talked about is like one of the main things that was in my head when creating this was to go against the grain of what was taking the industry by storm at the time. And I didn't do it perfectly. I'm not like thinking that I'm some great like person in doing that, but I think it's really important for artists out there. If you call yourself an artist, you cannot create something to fit into a package with how things are packaged now. It's not sustainable for the future of this thing that we all love so much. And I'm not saying The Room's Too Cold is this perfect thing that, you can apply it to every situation. But I look at my big things that I've accomplished, or my, that record and the one after, like, they were probably my highest selling albums back when people bought records. But, so there is that, but there's also the element of it. I had that opportunity, but instead of doing what the normal was, or what the surefire thing to make you a bigger band, I always chose to do, okay, what not is necessarily going to be easier. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do something that's going to allow this band to just capitalize off of a movement that's happening. I want to help it sustain longer. And we have to, as artists and people who claim to care about things, like not just go the way the river flows every single time. Like you have to be able to go against that. Although it's hard and it feels like you're not going to survive, like you have to be able to swim against the current. And that's to me what The Room's Too Cold is. And a lot of it was built out of that, like seeing your, bands doing certain things that were just like, well, that's not really punk. That's not
especially
really
on a label like Drive Thru.
Yeah, like you have to be able to take the L's, and that's all part of it. And when I say L, like, I mean, yeah, the loss, but also the lessons. Like you have to be able to grow something in not with Miracle Grow all the time. Like you have to be able to let things breathe and grow organically. And I think where the industry is now it's terrifying to me, honestly. It's scary because it's moving so quick and it's all instant gratification and validation and a lot of like everybody just torn in different directions and people being scared of losing everything if over things that are crazy. So it's like, I just want people to know that if it did matter to you, a lot of it was built off of the idea of not that instant gratification, the opposite of that, the ability to create something because you are driven to create it, because you need to create it, because it's going to hopefully mean something a little bit more than, a week to week, month to month paycheck or a, poor Spotify play paycheck, whatever. But, that's it. That would be the thing that I want people to know. And I urge artists to, continue to push against.
That's goated. That's a good thing. That is really sick. And also I agree.
Sweet.
I second that motion.
Sick.
Well, Ace, thank you so much for coming on CD Burners, and I'm excited for you to do emo night tonight.
Dude, I'm so excited.
It's been it's been way too long. I don't know why we didn't make this happen sooner.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm pumped. Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful. Honestly, I'm so grateful.
Dude, so are we. This is so sick.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, dude.
I'm pumped. Thank you.
Let's go.
Yep.